formerly known as Royce City Middle School. Ms. Petrov has been an administrator for 12 years, 6 years as an associate principal. What roles as an associate principal are your main leadership roles?
Okay, so I'm instructionally based. That's where I'm a little bit different from the assistant principal. The assistant principals are more discipline, and I'm more instructionally based. So I do the master schedule. I help the counselors with any scheduling throughout the year. I help with the SPED department with them and scheduling. I do the ESL. I'm the LPAC representative, the administrator on that. And I oversee some of the instructional goals on the campus, and also attend the PLCs and be the resource for the teachers. So I would say I still help with discipline whenever the APs get overloaded. I still do a lot of the normal principal things, but my main roles are more instructionally based. So yeah,
Good deal.
it's a good job.
So today we are discussing how the master schedule is developed here at Baley Middle School. So to begin with, approximately how many students attend Baley Middle School?
Well, we're growing, as you know. So this community, I think we've grown. This is my second year at this school, and I think we've grown 100 kids just since I've started. So next year we're projected to be around 1,000. I think we're going to have more than that. So we'll be over 500 kids in a class, because we only have 7th and 8th graders here this year. But we're definitely going to be crowded. With that, there's a lot of challenges that come with that. So we've been planning on how we're setting up our school-wide procedures for next year. Because you saw our campus is also under construction. So we have a lot of challenges to face this year. But we're going to do great. We're going to set up those school-wide procedures, make sure our teachers are really trained, make sure that everyone knows, how to handle business from day to day. And I think that will help us a lot.
For sure. What is the ethnic makeup of Baley Middle School?
We're pretty diverse. I would have to pull up the numbers, but I believe that we're probably about 60% white, probably in the 30s on Hispanic, and then around 8% or so on African American, and then the leftover are different ethnic backgrounds.
Okay.
So we're pretty diverse. We have a great group of kids.
As far as the socioeconomic makeup, what is that?
Last year we were, and that's just what, in secondary it's a little bit different from elementary, because kids start to get where they don't want to report that, it's really hard for us to get some of the forms back. So I think we're in the 30s. Last year we were in the 30s as far as economically disadvantaged. I expect that to probably maybe stay about the same this year, but that's just what gets reported to us. It's usually in the 30s. So.
And then what is the ethnic makeup of the faculty?
We have done a really great job. We had some turnover this year. We had a lot of teachers get promotions, which we're very excited about. We had a couple stay home with their babies, and then we had, for growth, we had added positions. So we've had a lot of change. But with that, we've been very intentional on our hiring, trying to get more teachers with ethnic backgrounds that match our student population. So we've done a great job of that. I would think that we're probably very equal to that of the student body now.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Yes. Okay, what is the range or average years of experience, if you were to guess, for your faculty and staff?
If I were to guess, I would think that I'm going by what we just staffed for next year is what I'm thinking. We have probably, I would guess, 10 to 12% of teachers with 3 or less years of experience. And then we have a big range of teachers from probably that 5 to 10 year mark. And then I would think for our veteran teachers, we would probably have anywhere from 30 to 40%. So we're pretty experienced.
Right.
We only have a few brand new teachers, maybe 2 brand new teachers to education.
Oh wow,
So,
that's wonderful.
yeah.
So they've got a big area to pull from.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
Nice. What are the academic issues of concern here?
Our main focus, since I've been here, we have a couple of different areas we're working on. So our ELL population and SPED, which I know in Texas everyone's working on those subgroups, but we definitely have been trying to pull up and grow those subpops. Another area of concern for us here at this campus has been history. Our 8th grade history scores definitely are an area for improvement, so we've been working on that. And part of our early summer was getting that department staffed really well. We had some openings, and we think we did a great job with that.
Good deal.
Pulled some veteran teachers that really know what kids need in that area. So we're excited about that. Writing has been something that we're starting to focus on more, also writing across the content areas. So we've been meeting with our English teachers to try to figure out how we can make almost like a school-wide initiative on that. I've been in previous districts where we used Avid as a way to write across the curriculum, and with the Cornell notes and some different strategies. So we're looking at implementing some of those here next year.
Oh, wonderful.
So, yeah, we're real excited about that. We have a lot of
hope
teachers on board.
Yeah, I hope that trickles down.
Yeah,
For sure.
So
That'd be nice. Okay, so what are your student cultural social issues of concern?
we have really good kids. I wouldn't say we have many huge concerns, just because, and because your kids feed into here,
Right.
we just have really good kids. But I think we have the normal issues that we're seeing today. Socially, the phones, social media, that's a huge concern here at the middle school. So we really try to teach them. We have a time during the day that's scheduled in called our Academic 30. And we also, we focus on academics and intervention during that time, but we'll also, especially like the beginning of the year and then throughout the year, maybe here and there, we'll do some lessons with them on some of those issues. So social media is one thing that we talk to them about, how to handle themselves, because we don't know that they're necessarily learning that at home, and so we feel like it's our job to kind of teach them how to interact appropriately on social media with each other.
Absolutely.
That's a big issue. We're starting to see some mental health issues trickle down that used to mainly be high school age type issues. We're starting to see that trickle down to even younger ages. So that's a very small population, but those kids need us, and it's real. So we have those issues like anxiety, depression, just some of those things we're starting to see as well here. So we're working with our counselors to make sure we have good programs in place for that. And of course, bullying is still, that's
Right.
been around forever. That's definitely something that we face at the middle school, even though we have really good kids. But we educate them on what bullying is, what the difference of not getting along with someone or someone just saying something mean, how that is different from bullying. And so we just educate our kids on that, and then how to treat each other appropriately. So, we're Capturing Kids' Hearts School.
Yes.
So we use a lot of those philosophies to teach our kids how to treat each other and how they want to be treated, and how our teachers want to be treated. And we have just invested so much time into that, and it's definitely, you can see it with the way our kids treat each other.
We
So.
see it at the elementary level as
Yeah.
well. So I love Capturing Kids' Hearts.
Yes.
I think it's
Me
one of the
too.
best programs ever.
Absolutely.
Okay, so going back to the master schedule, now that we have that information,
Yes, for sure.
what criteria is used to design the master schedule?
Okay, so it's very complicated at this level. So what we do first is our counselors, usually early spring, they start by doing choice of subject for the kids. So we decide, how many electives our kids are going to have, and then we open it up. Our counselors go in and educate the kids on what all we have to offer, and they select the courses that they want. So I use that to build the master schedule. So for instance, we had over 300 kids sign up for Spanish for this year, when last year we only had 100. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Last year we only had 100 and I think 50 or 80 sign up. It's almost doubled. So we used that information. We were able to hire a second Spanish teacher. So you know, there's a lot of change from year to year. It's not like you can just have a schedule set
Sure.
and then use it from year to year. You have to see what the needs are, what the kids are interested in. Also, whether here at this level, we not only look at electives, we look at how many kids sign up for regular classes versus pre-AP. So that can change what's needed. And then I also have to look at my ELL population and then my SPED population and see what coursework those kids need. So once I have all my numbers, I go in and I have a spreadsheet, and I have it pulled up here so you can see it. But I have this spreadsheet that I've used for years now, and I go in and I start building the schedule based on what kids have requested and what the needs are. So like over here I have my requests, and I'll put how many, for instance, this is English. So 340 kids requested regular English. And I divide that by how many kids will be in each class, and that tells me how many sections I need. So I need roughly 12. So I always build it a little higher because we're growing. So I build it for 5% growth, which last year we exceeded that, but I'm hoping we don't this year. Otherwise our teachers will be sad because we'll have really big classes. But I build it with 5% growth, so I know I need 14 sections of English.
Okay.
So then I start looking at who the teachers are, and I start building the schedule. So you'll look at how many seats we have for 7th grade, and then how many seats are needed for 8th grade. So it's really, you know, it's a puzzle that you put together, but once I have the spreadsheet at all the course requests in and the spreadsheet kind of designed, I have another formula at the bottom that tells me how many seats I have for each period. Because it's secondary, you've got to make sure every kid has a class every period.
Right.
So this tells me, and the way I have the formula built, so like right here, I'm 24 seats short for 7th grade and 1st period. I'm not done with it yet. But I wish I was done, but I'm not done. And then I have 53 extra seats for 8th grade. Okay, so what I do when I see that, so I have a shortage in 1st period, I need to add another 7th grade class 1st period. I start looking at my electives and how I can move people around. You know, so it's very complicated. Like teachers, when they ask, give me 4th period conference, I'm like, it doesn't work that way. I've got to see what the needs are. Because if band is 4th period, then I may not need any teachers that period, you know?
Sure.
But if band is 3rd period, then I might need, you know, to build. So it just depends on what the needs are, what kids have signed up for, what our electives look like.
Very different than elementary.
Yeah, that's what drives the schedule.
Okay.
And then, of course, I want to do what's best for kids.
Yes.
So I have to keep all of that as the big picture to build the master schedule.
Sure.
So it's really complicated, but it's fun. I get a lot of enjoyment out of it because it's like a puzzle. And then something that we're battling here, you'll see down at the bottom, I put where our Spanish and our ESL and our resource kids, where they will be. But we have a lot of floaters, and I'm going to have to add one more, I think. But so that's the other part of the puzzle. So you've got to figure out where these teachers are going to meet from period to period if they don't have a classroom.
Okay.
So, yeah. So it's very interesting.
Okay, so with regard to when you figure out that you need to hire a new English teacher or a new reading teacher, how do you go about getting approval? Do you just tell the principal?
So what we do here in Roy City, it's different. Every district is different. But here in Roy City, I tell my principal that, hey, I'm looking at the numbers, the amount of teachers that we have. So for instance, we did have to hire a new 7th grade reading teacher this year because our incoming 6th grade class that will be 7th grade next year, they're a lot larger than our 7th grade class last year. But we couldn't move an 8th grade English teacher down because that class is also large.
Oh, wow.
So what we do is you have to have the data to back yourself up. So it was real easy. I just showed this is how many incoming 7th graders we have. This is how many English sections there are. So we're short this many sections because we can't overload. We here in Roy City, we don't want to go over 30 kids in a class.
Okay.
And that's different from district to district also. But so I had the numbers to prove that we needed another reading teacher. So Ms. Morales, the principal, would just give that number to HR. And if they agree that, yes, there is a need, then they post the job.
And then if they
So-
disagree?
then we have to figure out how to absorb that in our schedule.
Which is a lot more fun, right?
Yes.
Okay. So based upon that, you try to keep your caps at 30, but there is
Yes.
not a cap, correct?
There is, and I don't know, I know there is a legal, like for instance in PE, I can't put over 45 kids in PE without a second teacher in there. I don't know what that would be for the normal classroom. We're very fortunate that Roy City, you know, backs us, and we don't make our classes too large. But you know, that's a great question. I would think it would be somewhere around 35 if I had to guess, but
I think I've
I
heard
don't
that number
know.
as well. I'll look
Yeah,
that
I don't
up.
know. That'd be a good thing to look up.
Okay.
I haven't had to look that up because we're so lucky here that we do what's best for kids and we keep those class sizes down.
Right.
But everywhere that I have been, that's been the norm, keeping it around 30. Trying not to go over 30. So,
you've kind of covered a majority of the questions. So you were saying that when you're developing the master schedule, your main thing is what's best for kids. Is this solely based on maximizing their student learning? Is it a combination of making sure that they have both academic growth as well as social growth within their electives? What would you say?
I would say both. We definitely want kids academic. That's our number one priority. So when I'm looking and building the master schedule, if I see a need, if I can lower the math numbers, I'm gonna do that first before maybe like PE or a computer class, you know, something like that. I'm definitely gonna prioritize the cores whenever I'm building it to keep those numbers low, because that's our number one priority is academic growth. But you know, with the flip side of that, kids, we want them to enjoy coming to school. We want them to want to be here every day. So I also look at what electives they've selected, and I really try to make sure that the classes don't fill up and that kids get their first and second choices. I think that's so important. I think this is the age where kids start to learn who they are and what they're going to be when they grow up and where their interests are. So and that I was telling you about the Spanish position that we were able to add, you know, that number almost doubled. And last year we had to turn some kids away for Spanish, like maybe, I don't know, 20 to 40, because it filled up. And I was like, there's no way we can tell 100 and something kids that they don't get Spanish. How are we going to do that, you know?
Right. Especially since it's such a need in this area to be able to communicate.
Yes. Yeah. So that's where we're so fortunate that we showed the numbers and we were able to add that position. So we really let the kids and what their needs and wants are help drive those decisions.
Absolutely.
So,
does this process, when you're doing this, does it allow for teacher collaboration within the schedule?
Yeah, for sure. So once I get the numbers, the things that we really want to do and need to do in certain areas, I'll meet with the department leads and kind of we'll talk about, you know, what teachers we feel would be best for like your pre-AP kids versus the regular kids. Some departments choose to, you know, we want one teacher to do all the pre-AP because in this subject it's like a second prep to do the regular versus the pre-AP. But in other areas they may want to mix it up because it is the same prep. They just may do more extensions off of the coursework and off the TEKS, you know, so just it varies from department to department. I definitely meet with those leads in that area and get their input, and I try to do everything they ask, you know, within reason, you know. But another thing I didn't talk about on the master schedule is so PLC is so important to us, having our teachers together to meet weekly. So all of our teachers, they have the same planning period with their team. That's really important, and that's very common all over, but that's something that I will not change. They all will have the same period to plan. And I take it a step further, so most of our cores, they all have lunch together as well. So that way they have 2 times throughout the day they can plan or bounce ideas off of each other or meet if needed. So that's something that I really have stuck to since I've been in charge of master schedule. So I think they appreciate that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I think most of those things, most of my main questions have been answered. I just have a couple of like your opinion questions.
Yeah, sure.
So how do you feel that the policies and practices protect the quality of instruction, time, and the student learning? How do you feel they protect that?
That like our school
Just your
district
school
policies?
Yes.
Definitely. I feel like it protects the quality of instruction. So as far as time, we're allotted so many minutes per day to teach kids, and time has been something that we really have focused on our schedule. I don't know if you had a chance to look at our schedule or anything, but on paper it looks like we have 9 periods a day.
Mm-hmm.
But really, one of those is a conference, one of those is a lunch, and then we have a 30-minute period every day after second period called Academic 30,
Mm-hmm.
and we have built-in intervention time because we feel like we want to, here at Ouida Baley, we want to maximize every minute that we have the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So we built in that 30-minute intervention time where we actually tier all of our kids. So like all 500 8th graders, all 500 7th graders, we meet with those teams and we tier them, which they're already tiering them in their individual classrooms. So we tier them school-wide, and we set up groups, and based on their tier, we set up interventions for those kids. So we have every teacher in the school during that 30 minutes every day helping. It's been a really neat process. We're going to tweak it some for next year, but so even our PE teachers, our elective teachers are helping with math and reading during that time. So yeah, so they usually have the higher groups though. We put them with like the tier 1 groups,
Mm-hmm.
just because that's not their content, and then the lower tiers we put with like the math and the English teachers, so they can really intervene and do small groups and the things that they need to help those kids grow. But it was very successful. Last year we saw some growth in our test scores, and we attribute a lot of it to that 30 minutes during the day. And we also do some other things during that time, as well. But we started towards the end of the year allowing some of those tier 1 kids that really get it, that really understand the material. We let them start coming down and be like a peer tutor also for the lower kids. And
Nice.
some of them, need hours for the different organizations they're in. So that was really neat. So to see the kids teaching each other,
Mm-hmm.
and growing in that way. And sorry, I think I probably got off from your question.
No, you're good. It's wonderful. It's
But we also have at lunch. Lunch is a period as well here, and so it's all of our periods about 47 minutes. But we can't leave middle school kids in the cafeteria for 47 minutes. There's no way. They'd be throwing food or that's just too long. So what we did is we gave them a 35-minute lunch. And then we have a 12-minute homeroom tied to their lunch. So what they do for that 12 minutes is they go to their teacher's room, and we'll do video announcements during that time, which is student-led. That's another student-led thing that we have. And then also after their announcements are finished, we have a time on Google Classroom where they're breaking down STAR-related questions. So they just do one a day after the homeroom announcements, and we focused this year on science and social studies, and so we would have, if the teacher didn't feel comfortable breaking down the question, they'd have a kid come up and they would just talk about the language that's being used in the question, how they would go about the process of solving the question.
Mm-hmm.
And then the teachers would always have access to the answers, and so say it was a science question but the English teacher didn't know the answer. She had the answer, but we would just say, just focus on having the kids talk about the language and how to solve. And more than likely, a kid in a class will know.
Certainly.
Yes, and
Right.
and have them lead that discussion.
That.
Yes, so we're trying to empower everyone we just want to be a growth-oriented school.
Mhm.
So that we're not going to just stay in our little, because secondary is different from elementary.
Yes.
Everybody stays in their little niche. Like if I'm a math teacher, I stay in my math world. So we're really trying to spread it and have ownership of everything in our school and have our kids kind of lead that as well.
Absolutely.
So we have some big changes and we feel like it's really been good. We still have issues as well,
Right.
but like everyone, and we really feel like we're headed in the right direction.
Now, with your academic 30, because I know in the high school they do the power hour.
Yes.
Do you guys come together as principals and discuss what's working well
Absolutely.
on those areas of intervention?
Absolutely. So, we meet every week as the principals. Usually we meet more than that and just do checks, and see how things are going. But definitely the priority is instruction. So we talk about that all the time, how we can improve it and make it better. And then we bounce those ideas off of our leadership team.
Okay.
And then we also allow them to give input. So the one thing about our academic 30 that it's been very fluid, like we make changes to it constantly.
Okay.
And we have everything on a Google large spreadsheet, so it's shareable, and we have certain people that have access. So just because a kid starts in tier 2, if they start doing really well, that teacher can move them to tier 1. And so it's very fluid.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. I
Absolutely.
really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to meet
Absolutely.
with me. I've learned a lot.
Yes.
Thank you.